Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Ian here from IBI Performance Coaching, and I'm going to talk to you today about when black and white thinking can actually be one of your best friends and how to employ it strategically so that you can make progress on whatever goals you have. So, enjoy. So, as a coach, one of the major things that I find myself working on with clients is black and white thinking. It can be a real stumbling block for people. Another way to say this would be something like all or nothing thinking. Something is either all good or all bad. And this often crops up when we're talking about people who are struggling to implement an exercise regime, for example, and it'll be like, a day comes when they don't think they have the time, or maybe they're a little bit sore in, some muscle group that they're supposed to work out that day, and so they end up skipping the whole thing. And basically the mentality goes something like, well, if I can't do the whole workout as it's written, then I might as well just not do anything. But obviously, it's not limited to working out. You will see this all over the place. If I can't eat a really healthy meal, then I might as well just not worry about it. Or, if I'm gonna, treat myself in this way, then I might as well just splurge. This is another way to think of this is throwing yourself down the stairs effect. This is, I think, a very helpful metaphor. Basically, if you imagine yourself walking down a staircase and you stumble on one of the stairs, our natural reaction would be to try to catch ourselves and regain our balance so that no further damage is done. But for whatever reason, when people get caught up in this all or nothing black or white thinking, their response to stumbling on the stairs is to just throw themselves down the stairs. Oh, well, I already stumbled. I guess screw it. I might as well just throw myself down the stairs. And as irrational as it sounds, this is super common. But what I want to suggest is that this all or nothing black and white thinking isn't always bad. It's just that people employ it in unstrategic, less than useful, harmful ways. So here's an example. Instead of all or nothing, I either have to do the whole workout or I might as well just not do anything. What if you switch the wording to something or nothing? I either do something or I've done nothing. And so now you can see the range of possibilities that opens up. Sure, you could do the whole workout, but if you can't do the whole workout, what can you do? What is that something that you can do so that you don't end up doing nothing? And doing something can seem much more attractive than doing nothing. Whereas if you're talking about all or nothing, often all seems like such a high wall to climb that nothing can appear more attractive. So a lot of this is about framing it. And by strategically employing binary thinking in this manner, what we can achieve is better clarity and simplicity when it comes to the sort of self-instructions that you're giving. And the more clarity you have in the instructions that you're giving yourself, the more commitment you're going to subsequently feel to achieving that thing. So binary thinking is fantastic for clarifying what exactly it is you want and thereby achieving higher levels of commitment. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a sort of quick run through of a lexicon of different binary thinking that is really, I think, in my opinion, very useful. And it's kind of the distinctions that if you bring them into your daily life, these will prove their worth over and over again. So one of these would be something like making progress or progression versus regression. And it's always going to be one or the other. There's no such thing as standing still. You're always either getting better or getting worse. There's no stasis. Now, why is this so useful? Well, maybe counterintuitively, What it allows people to do is feel pride and achievement, a sense of achievement, for doing just a little bit. Because if you've done just a little bit, that clearly falls into the progress category because it's not the regress category. And if you've made progress, you've done something that's laudable. One of the biggest issues, aside from black and white thinking that people have, is that they punish themselves for making progress when they don't perceive the progress that they've made to be sufficient according to their often completely arbitrary measures. So, I was supposed to do this, but I only did this. Yeah, but what you did is more than you would have done otherwise. It's more than you did yesterday or more than you would have done a month ago. So it's actually progress. So if you imagine you were talking to a child and, you wanted the child to come join you for dinner, for example, and it took them a while because they were upset about something, but then they finally did come and join you, and you said, "Oh, wow, nice of you to finally join us." That's like the least helpful thing you can do because you are punishing the behavior that you want to encourage. So it's much better to say, "Oh, so glad you could, thank you for coming, man. We were really, it's good to have you. I'm glad that you were able to come." Now, obviously, that might not be exactly how you'd speak to a child, but hopefully you get the point that the goal is to reward behaviors that you want to reinforce, and that even goes for yourself. And so punishing your own progress is the one of the least rational ways to go about trying to get anything done. So it's either progress or regress, and if it's progress, give yourself credit. What about failure versus not failure? And this is an exercise question, right? The concept of training to momentary muscular failure, it's powerful because it is, supported by literature, and it's an effective way to deliver a stimulus. But psychologically, I think, is where a lot of the real power lies, because momentary muscular failure is not a subjective feeling. Momentary muscular failure is an objective reality, an objective phenomena. You cannot lift the weight, physically incapable of lifting the weight through another repetition, no matter how hard you try or how long you stay at it. So having that objective threshold that you either pass or you either, you reach it, you either check that box or you leave it unchecked, is a way that people can maintain the intensity of their workouts at a level that will continue to provide them with benefits, as opposed to, allowing complacency to set in, and slowly the intensity erodes over time until they get to a point where they're basically just going through the motions. So this is another great place for strategic binary thinking. Okay, I really also like the idea of, and I'm going to give you a pair of them here, creating versus reacting, or this could also be called being centered or being off balance. So whenever you find yourself living your life, and let's say something unexpected happened, you find yourself in a circumstance that you didn't see coming, you're always either using your circumstances to create a future that is of your own choosing, or you're reacting to your circumstances and thereby being shuttled down the default future path. The same could be said for this centered or off balance. You're always either centered or off balance. When you're centered, you're creating, and when you're off balance, you are reacting. The centered off balance distinction, I think, is a very helpful one, because emotions, at least the way that I use that word, are involuntary and automatic. So surprise is not something that you choose. If you're surprised by something, it's an automatic response. Something like anger, however, is not an emotion, it's a feeling. It's what you get when you combine being off-balanced emotionally with a story, with an explanation for why you're off-balanced emotionally. And the result is a feeling which can persist for much longer than an emotion would. Emotions are involuntary, automatic, and fleeting You don't stay surprised for long. You don't stay startled for long. So you do have control over those feelings. You have that control by adjusting the lever of the story that you tell to explain whether you're centered or off balance. And that story that you tell can help you to regain your center, to recenter yourself. This is also very helpful because if I were to say to somebody who is about to, let's say, give a speech and they don't like public speaking, and I say, oh, just be confident. What is it? Go ahead, make yourself confident. This is not something that most people can easily do. But if I were to say, okay, let's center yourself, there is like an intuitive understanding of what that would mean, right? It means, are you present? Are you focused on what you need to be doing? Is your physiology in check? Are you slumped over or off balance physically? All of these sorts of things will play into whether you are feeling centered or not. And so if you're centered, then you're not off balance and you're probably creating rather than reacting. Okay, another one very helpful here would be towards versus away. And another way to say this is traction and distraction. And so any behavior that you can think of is either a towards behavior or an away behavior. It either moves you toward a desired outcome or away from that desired outcome. Traction and distraction, it gives you that behavior gives you traction, as in it helps you to move towards that desired outcome, or distraction, as in you're losing the ability to move towards it. You are getting sidetracked or pulled away from that thing. And this binary is just so useful for evaluating your in the moment actions and your daily routines. So if you were to take the towards and away binary to your current daily routine and say which of these things moves me towards my desired future, makes me more the person that I want to be, let's say, that would be an even deeper way to think about this. Which one makes me more of the kind of person that I want to be? And it's really going to help clarify what you're doing with your time, how you're making your choices, because recognizing that I'm making this I'm going to take this action, and this is an away action. This is actually moving me away from what I really want, is a potent realization to have. Whether it's obsessive phone use or junk food consumption or smoking cigarettes, actively recognizing that you are choosing to move away from what you really want can be pretty motivating. Okay, last one is something called boss worker or intellecting implementing. One trap that people fall into is they try to do everything at once when they're making changes. And that means that they're trying to plan and put things into action in sort of the same block of time, maybe the same breath even. And so what this results in is the planning gets in the way of the acting, and the acting is always being second guessed by the planning. And then the planning gets short-circuited by your desire to do something. You don't feel like you're making any progress because you haven't done anything. And so neither one of them is able to breathe and really provide the benefit that it potentially could. So by separating, that's not a word, separating these two into boss mode versus worker mode, or intellecting versus implementing modes, or even blue work being the intellecting and red work being the implementing work. What you're allowing either to do is actually serve its purpose. And so one thing that you might think about doing is saying, 4 days each week, I'm going to be in implementing mode, where I'm going to put into practice the plan that I decide on for that week. And I'm not going to be second guessing what I'm doing during that time. I'm just nose to the grindstone, just cranking out the reps. Whereas on the other day of the week, let's say day 5, maybe you do it over the weekend, who knows? you are in boss mode or you're in intellecting mode. And this is where you are reflecting on the results that the last period of action produced for you. You're making changes to the plan, reevaluating your goals and your process, and doing all of the thought work that will provide you with a blueprint to follow during your next action period, and being very specific about which one you are doing when. This could happen within a day as well, right? Starting your day off with an intellecting period, going into implementing for some period of time, maybe returning to intellecting at the end in order to engage in your reflection period. But by separating this, you will actually be much more effective at whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, so there you have a short lexicon of different binary distinctions that I think can be used strategically to really help you get more of what you want, whether it's changing your exercise habits or your eating habits or maybe your relationship habits, whatever you want. These distinctions can be applied pragmatically to that area of your life. Okay, thank you so much for watching this channel. Thank you for staying until the end. And if you are one of those people who supports the channel, you have my eternal gratitude. You can check out the exercise programs down below. There's a free one, but there's also some paid ones. And I try to keep the prices super low on those. And I think a lot of people get a lot of value out of them. We have over 100 5-star reviews on the programs at this point. So if you're interested, check them out. All right. Thanks so much. And whatever you want, go earn it.